Hello. We are now up to the second part of the fourth chapter. The first part was the genealogies, the family tree from Manu, who was the origin of humans, and Shatarupa. Manu and Shatarupa, who are the origin of humanity. And we came to their youngest daughter of the three, Prasuti, who had the most children. And then we come down to her youngest daughter, the 16th daughter, Sati. And she marries Shiva but has no kids. And then we want to know the story behind that, and hence the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the next 6 chapters are dedicated to explaining this whole story. So chapters 2 through 7 deal with this story of Shiva and Sati. A very engaging, one of my favorite stories in the whole Bhagavatam so far. Okay, here we go. It begins with curses and insults. So you get the backstory first. Once upon a time, very early in cosmic history, the universe's creators called an assembly of sages, scholars, immortals, and fire gods. Sati's father, Daksha, arrived there like the sun, filling the arena with a brilliance brighter than even the fire gods. Everyone respectfully stood up from their seats to welcome him. Everyone except 2. Brahma did not rise from his seat, but this made perfect sense to Daksha, for Brahma was his father. He went to Brahma to pay respect, and Brahma gestured for him to sit. As he did, he noticed the second person who had not stood up to greet him. Gentle but dirty Shiva. This infuriated Daksha because Daksha was reluctantly Shiva's father-in-law. He loudly and sharply declared, "Sages, immortals, fire gods, I shall now explain the fundamentals of good and bad behavior." Seeing that Daksha was furious with Shiva, everyone became uneasy, knowing that anger towards the impeccable god of destruction was a very bad idea. Seeing their trepidation, Daksha smiled and reassured them. "My friends, I will not fabricate slander out of anger. I will speak only the facts that no one can deny. This one," he said, pointing at Shiva, "shamelessly ruins your glory, polluting the paths of good behavior with his filthy pride. Why do you allow him in your company? I never wanted my daughter to marry him. Giving my daughter to his care seemed as useless as giving philosophy lessons to a bricklayer. He breaks every rule, follows no norms, and is haughty and filthy on top of all that. He lives amidst corpses, surrounded by horrible ghosts and spirits. He wanders naked, disheveled, and disarrayed while laughing and crying like a lunatic. He covers himself in cremation ash and calls that a bath. He dons necklaces of skulls and bones and calls those clothes. His name Shiva means auspicious, but that is the only auspicious thing about him. Only lunatics love this lunatic who protects the insane. His soul must be as dark as those who are attracted to it. Why did I ever allow my own precious daughter to marry him? Only because I was ordered to do so by our ultimate leader, my father, Brahma." So here you get Daksha's subjective view of Shiva, Rudra. This is the subjective view that Daksha epitomizes the Brahmin, or the very sophisticated, cultured person. Their view of Shiva, or of what Shiva really, if they really did see him, would be, who is this filthy weirdo? Who is this wild scary, dangerous barbarian. He's not stopping at red lights. He's not wearing clothes in public. He's crazy. And then what if you had to marry your daughter to him? So he said, why did I ever allow my precious daughter to marry him? Only because I was ordered to do so by our ultimate leader, my father, Brahma. So he's also hinting, look, I know good behavior. My father, I respect him. Even if he says something that I don't like, even if it's uncomfortable, I do it. So by contrast, this guy, Shiva, doesn't know good behavior. His father, me, I'm his father-in-law, he doesn't respect. But I know good behavior. I respect my father. That's why I got into this mess. I consented on the condition that he become a proper gentleman, taking the hand of my daughter in a proper marriage with proper priests, fire, and mantra. He pretended to accept my demands, but his behavior reveals that it was all a sham. The truth is that my daughter was kidnapped, not married. Her innocent doe eyes were stolen by the cheating monkey eyes of this fraud. Now, this dude is serious. This guy is really insulting Shiva. His behavior today reveals this truth. Why? What is he talking about? What he's saying is, this guy he did not marry my daughter. Otherwise, I would be his father. But is he treating me like his father? His behavior today reveals this truth. The bonds of his marriage are proven false by the fact that he does not truly consider himself my son-in-law. If he did, he would stand up when I enter and show me the honor due to a father. Instead, he remains here seated casually, not even offering a word of welcome. Then, enraged, Daksha prepared to pronounce a curse. It's amazing what can enrage people. You never know what's going to enrage somebody. Depending on what is important to them, that's what enrages people. If you get in the way of what's important to them, if you don't know what's important to somebody, you can be very surprised how you make somebody really angry by apparently doing almost nothing. So what's very important to Daksha, that he gets respect. And just the fact that Shiva didn't stand up to respect him throws him into this rage. Now he prepares to pronounce a curse. But as he prepares to pronounce a curse, protest arises from some of the Brahmins, whom Daksha is like the leader of. But Daksha ignored it and declared loudly, he declares his curse. Sacrifice shall be offered to the gods, and let Indra and his followers enjoy it, but not Bhava, the Lord of destruction, for he is unfit to be counted amongst the gods. So his curse is, this person does not deserve to be here, and henceforth I curse that he shall not be included amongst the gods. And this curse is effective. You'll never find, as far as I know, you never find Shiva included in Vedic rituals. And this is the explanation of why. Then, angry that some protested his curse, he stormed out of the assembly in a rage. What a diva. You know, diva actually comes from the word deva. You act like a goddess. So what a diva. Shiva remained completely calm. So Shiva, the whole time this guy is yelling at him, screaming at him, Shiva is not even worried. Shiva remains completely calm and undisturbed the entire time. His followers, however, could not. Nandishwara rose up like a flame, eyes red and distorted by rage, to retaliate against Daksha's curse. All of you Brahmins who did not protest Daksha's words, he declared, you have revealed your secret hatred of Shiva, the blessed being who hates no one. For this I curse you. Obviously, you are already superficial, external, shallow fools. How is it obvious? Look at what this guy just got so upset about. All he cares about is some kind of blood relationship, family relationship, social manners. So external, so simple, so basic concept of morality and ethics. Obviously, you are already superficial, external, shallow fools, completely ignorant of the philosophical truths you attempt to parrot. I simply curse you to become more so. Obviously, you are already flawed, pretending to be elevated when your hearts are addicted to simple orgasm like every other animal on earth. Pretending to know the Veda when your comprehension of it cannot go past superficial rituals promising materialistic profit. I simply curse these flaws to continuously increase as time wears on. And this is the basis for why Kali Yuga. This curse is kind of the operating principle that allows the degeneration of human society. Because the more the Brahmanas become disqualified, unqualified, the more impossible it is for human society to function harmoniously. Like having if your own body, if the brain got a disease, the more the rest of the whole organs in your body would get messed up. Nandishwar ignored the indignation that flared amongst the Brahmanas. Your leader, Daksha, he declared, leads you all in these flaws. His name implies that he is intelligent, but his superficial intellect makes the most basic mistake. He thinks superficial externals are more important than internal substance, and thus considers a person's body as if it were the true self. Daksha's intellect is just like an animal's, unaware of his true self-interest and interested only in sex. He is a genius, yes, a genius animal. So he should look like an animal. I declare that he shall soon have the head of a goat. You fools think him intelligent because your own dull intellects are also fascinated and obsessed with common selfish pleasures. Daksha's mundane fascinations shall bring him nothing but suffering again and again in this selfish world of birth and death. And those of you who tolerated his insults towards gentle Shiva shall suffer the same. I curse anyone who bears hatred towards the destroyer to become a bewildered fool, intoxicated by the Vedas' enchanting honey wine promises of material power and pleasure. My curse is not vindictive. It only makes your true nature more clear. Eventually, you see that, what he's saying? I'm actually not cursing you anything. I'm just magnifying your flaw and showing you your flaws. These are the flaws that you have. I'm just cursing that they become obvious. Eventually, all will plainly see that a so-called Brahmana will do anything and eat anything in the pursuit of common pleasures. You will waste all your education, austerity, and determination just to earn money for lavishing upon your body and senses. Hungry to fund your own appetites, you shall all wander aimlessly in this world like beggars. That's Nandishwar. Cool guy. He just smacked the Brahmanas hard. Now the Brahmanas are going to get pissed again. This is how arguments work. One guy says something annoying, then the other guy gets annoyed by it, and then it's history. Then it's just going to escalate and snowball. If everybody could have acted like Shiva, then only Daksha would have been the idiot. But now it's going to turn into a gigantic snowball. The twice-born Brahmanas could not tolerate these insults. Brigu, the famous Brigu, one of their most eminent leaders, came furiously to his feet, pronouncing counter curses on Shiva's followers. "Heretics and hypocrites shall be they who follow the ways of Shiva," thundered the voice of Bhrigu. "Far shall they wander from the true path of the Veda. Lost shall be their cleanliness. Dulled shall be their minds, though they mat their hair and wear ashen bones, trying to convince themselves that they are Shiva's disciple. Their true god shall be rum." This also is actually a fact. The Shaivites are pretty wild. And they are into intoxication. All of the, at least one interpretation of how Rastafarians got so into marijuana is that they're very much based on emulating Shaivite. If you need marijuana in India, you go visit a Shaivite. If you're in a holy place. "There's no real need to curse you," Bhrigu continued. "You are already cursed. You are already heretics, since you vehemently criticize the Veda and the Brahmanas who uphold it for humanity." That's Bhrigu's point. Is it correct? Not exactly. Maybe a little bit. Nandishwar didn't criticize them. I mean, he did. How could something which is correct be criticizable? That's the point. If you're really a Brahmana, if you really are teaching the Veda, there wouldn't be a criticizable point about you, nor would you be upset if you did have a criticizable point that got criticized. You'd be happy. So this claim of Bhrigu that they are Brahmanas and that they are upholding the Veda for humanity itself is bogus. You value Shiva, but ignore the fact that the Veda, or the truest Shiva. I do not need to curse you. You curse yourselves by blaspheming the Veda, which was established in infinite antiquity directly on the authority of Vishnu. You dare to criticize the Veda because you neglect Vishnu and consider Shiva, a lord of monsters, to be supreme. So now Bhrigu gets to the Vaishnav Shaivite nerve. Brahmanas generally are Vishnu-oriented, Vishnu Bhaktas. Because they're very devout, they are entirely devoted to the Veda, and the Veda is revealed by Vishnu. Now the card that Bhrigu is playing right now is you are actually anti-Vishnu because you criticize the Veda. Is this true? No. Nandishwar didn't criticize the Veda. Nandishwar criticized the false Brahmanas who don't understand the Veda. But Bhrigu just takes it as though they do. Of course they understand the Veda. So if you criticize me, you're criticizing the Veda. Up until this moment, Blessed Bhava had listened calmly to everything. But upon hearing this contentious and competitive statement pitting him against Vishnu, he could not tolerate another moment. He stood up silently and calmly left. That's why he's called Shiva. He's the most ferocious and angry out of any of these beings. He can destroy entire realms with his hatred from his anger from his head. He doesn't even need to use hands. But he has it so much under control that even in all this provocation, he remains calm. That's why he's called Shiva. But also Rudra. Shiva means peaceful and calm. Rudra means shouting and yelling. So as soon as as soon as the argument comes to the this bullshit about Shiva versus Vishnu, then Shiva says, enough of this. I'm not sitting around here anymore. I'm not going to hear any of this crap. And he gets up and leaves. Seeing him stand and leave, Nandishwar led the rest of his followers behind. So they all left. All of Shiva's entourage left. Then the ceremony, however, did not dissolve. Even without Shiva and Daksha, the creators of the cosmos carried out the ritual successfully for 1,000 years, keeping Hari as their foremost object of worship. So even though it wasn't quite a disaster, the Brahmins said, well, we still want to do this ceremony anyway for Vishnu, so they did it. That's the backstory. Any questions? That's the first chapter of this story. So it's the second chapter of the fourth division. Why are they into intoxication? I don't know. Shiva has a thing. Shiva has an incident where as the gods and the demons were churning the ocean of milk, the cosmic ocean of cosmic milk, whatever it actually is, I don't know, it produced some sort of poison that threatened to destroy everybody. And then Shiva came forward and drank the poison. So he can take toxins into his body and not be affected by it. And he holds it in his neck. And hence he's known as Nilkanta. His neck became blackened. His whole complexion is blackened, but the neck became even darker. And it's probably based on that. It's probably based on that the Shaivite will then demonstrate that as by virtue of their being devoted to Shiva, they're unaffected by toxins, and then that can evolve into this thing. Could be that. I don't know too much more. Velafron wants to know how can they behave like that? Why not? Why wouldn't they? How different are they from us? They just have more powerful. But look at how Shiva behaved. He's not one of us, is he? Shiva's behavior is ideal. Even Nandeshwar's behavior is ideal. It's actually the Brahmins who are at fault for being superficial. No, Shiva and Sati married properly. But now he's saying that must have been he must have been faking it. Yes, Johnny. All right. Now we can go on to the second chapter of the story. The second chapter of the story, which is the third chapter of this fourth part, is called An Uninvited Daughter. And here we go. Daksha was a natural front runner. So like a yuppie. Like somebody who wants to get ahead and be at the top of the ladder. He was a natural ladder climber. Daksha was a natural front runner, so the broadly learned Brahmanas and prodigiously procreative Prajapatis had quickly made him their leader. To celebrate, he demonstrated his unparalleled ability to execute Vedic rituals at the highest standard by conducting the elaborate Soma ceremony even more opulently than the Veda demands. This is his concept. This is the Brahmana's concept of how you be a religious, spiritual person. You follow the details. You follow the rituals. You obey the ceremonies. You obey the rules. You get everything external perfect. And in fact, just to show how great you really are, you could even make it more than perfect. Because the whole focus is on external, it's actually ostentatious. Right? It's showy. This is in contrast to Shiva's approach and the Shaivite approach, which is essential and disregards the ostentatiousness. So Daksha, the natural yuppie, quickly became the leader of the Brahmanas and Prajapatis. To celebrate, he demonstrated his unparalleled ability to execute Vedic rituals at the highest standard. His unparalleled ability, which is fact. By conducting the elaborate Soma ceremony, apparently the most elaborate ceremony, even more opulently than the Veda demands. Now, for the grand finale of that extended multi-part ceremony, he prepared the concluding festival and sacrifice in honor of Brihaspati. So it's going to be a big shindig. One of the really good things about Vedic rituals is they're big shindigs. They're big social events. And you get huge distribution of wealth from the Vedic sacrifice. One of the most practical functions that the Vedic sacrifice plays in society is to distribute wealth, like communistically distribute wealth to everybody. So everybody who comes gets clothing, everybody who comes gets food, everybody who comes gets some stockpile of grains to take home, everybody who comes usually will leave with some sort of an animal like a cow or a bull or a buffalo or something, or at least a goat or something like that. So the wealth gets collected for the sake of the ceremony in great excess, and then the attendees to the ceremony take it home. The concept of prasad is based on this. The results of the sacrifice are then distributed to the people who attend it. So he's going to have a big shindig for the grand finale part of the ceremony, of his grand expression of his celebration of promotion to the leader of the Brahmanas. So everybody's going to come. It's a big deal. Sages amongst the scholars and gods, ancestral Pitri, and the brilliant gods themselves, everyone was eager to attend. They came in pairs, beautifully dressed and decorated as husband and wife. Why? Because the Vedic ceremonies are meant for husband and wives. You cannot be unmarried and participate in these ceremonies. It's one of the deals. It's one of the details in the rules. Because it's meant for social. It's a social affair. And people who are unmarried, intentionally unmarried, they are not developing families. But the sacrifices and stuff are meant to benefit the development of families. So that's an issue that's going to come up. They came in pairs, beautifully dressed and decorated as husband and wife. Shiva and Sati, however, were not invited. Hence the name of the chapter, An Uninvited Daughter. Wow, Daksha did not invite his own daughter. Because that's how infuriated he was that she chose to marry Shiva. A guy who's completely antithetical to everything that Daksha values. Sati found out about the ceremony only by overhearing the enthusiastic chatter of airy sky dwellers. She realized the ceremony must be beginning soon when she saw a host of minor divinities passing overhead in their fine ships. Husbands and wives beautifully dressed to the hilt, with fine necklaces, glittering earrings, and eagerly brilliant eyes. She went to her husband, the master of ghosts, and said, "Beautiful lord, your father-in-law, the Prajapati, is about to begin a great ceremonial festival. All the wise gods are going. Wouldn't you like to?" "You clearly want to go," Shiva calmly replied. "May I ask why?" "My fortunate sisters will surely be there with their husbands," Sati explained. "And I dearly want to see them again. I miss them so much." Shiva agreed. "You should certainly go see them." "But I cannot go by myself," Sati replied. "You know that only couples can attend Vedic ceremonies. Oh, you should see them all heading there. So many husbands and wives dressed and decorated so beautifully. Well, if you just want to get dressed up, Shiva suggested humorously, we can do that right here. No, no, Sati said with a beautiful pout. What I really want is to see my beautiful sisters with their handsome husbands and my loving aunts and mother under the auspicious and ceremonial flags raised by great sages. It has been such a long time. Shiva was quiet and looked at her carefully for a long moment. I guess you don't understand how I feel, Sati said. You have no parents. You were not raised in a family. Everyone and everything in this world seems the same to you. All of it an amazing manifestation of spiritual energy interacting with nature's three qualities. But dear Baba, I'm a simple young girl who hasn't realized such things. My heart aches to see my birth family again and to visit my old home. In truth, silent Shiva did understand her feelings, but he also understood Daksha. Unborn Lord, Sati continued, just imagine how I feel. Look at all these other beautiful women. Look at all these other women beautifully dressed with their lovers and friends, headed to that great ceremony in ships that look like great white swans. That's Alf's post with all those swans. Oh, best of gods, how could a daughter like me not go to a festival at her father's house? Shiva gently reminded her of the obvious. He did not invite us. Of course not, she replied emphatically. We are family. Intimate friends, family, husbands, and gurus do not need invitations. That's a quote. It's like some kind of a niti or a social principle. Oh, immortal, she pleaded. You are kind and compassionate, so kindly be compassionate towards my wishes. You see all things perfectly, so see me as half of your own self and be inclined to my requests. So she's saying, hey, my dad is having this ceremony. Let's go. Let's go. And Shiva says, why do you want to go? And she says, I want to see my family again. I miss them. This is going to be great. They're going to be all decked out and beautiful. It was such a nice time to see them. Come on, let's go. But you're not invited. You weren't invited. No, that's because I'm his daughter. He doesn't have to invite your daughter. So Shiva, who had no home besides mountaintop, so she's thinking he doesn't understand. Because he's not like the rest of the people. He doesn't come from a family. He doesn't have a house. He's so spiritually elevated. But actually, he understands. Shiva, who had no home besides a mountaintop, looked lovingly upon his beloved Sati. Sati, in turn, looked lovingly upon her beloved friends and family. My dear beauty, he said lovingly, you have spoken beautifully. Friends and relatives do not require invitations, you said. That is the truth, but it does not apply when insults and anger divide the friends and relatives. If your relatives are angry with you, then they're not considering you a relative at that time. You shouldn't apply this rule. Sati let out an incredulous sigh as if to say, do you really believe that he truly hates you? He's not that bad. So Shiva explained, your father does have many remarkable qualities, but they work against him. Learning, discipline, wealth, beauty, power, and heritage are good qualities. And your father has them in abundance. But even good qualities have bad effects in proud people, increasing their pride and their blindness to the importance of others. This is a good point. Even good qualities have bad effects in proud people. And even bad qualities have good effects in humble people. The bad effect is to increase the pride and thereby increase the insensitivity, emotional insensitivity, which equals unhappiness. And the reverse, even bad qualities in humble people, is to decrease the pride and therefore increase the sensitivity to others and therefore increase the ability to love. Family does not need an invitation, you said. Shiva continued. This is usually very true, but this is not the right time for it. Right now, your father's heart is not peaceful. He's aggravated and annoyed with me. And it's also said, when one's heart is not peaceful, uninvited guests are a nuisance. An unhappy host looks at uninvited guests with furrowed eyebrows and irritated eyes. How will you feel if your own father looked at you like that? It would be worse than being stabbed. If someone stabs you, it hurts, but at least you can sleep at night and forget the pain. When a loved one insults you, however, your broken heart will ache day and night without relent. Sati raised her eyebrows incredulously as if to say, do you really think his anger with you is stronger than his love for me? I'm his daughter. He loves me. He's not going to treat me like that just because he's mad at my husband. Do you really think his anger with you is stronger than his love for me? This is a big question, and this is important. Anger versus love. So Shiva explained, my dear, your eyebrows have never been furrowed. Your eyes have never been irritated. So actually, she was previously thinking, Shiva, he's never lived in a family. He didn't grow up with a mom and a dad raising him. He doesn't have a home, so he can't understand what I'm feeling. And now he's turning that around and saying, you don't know anything about anger because you've never been angry with anybody. Your father is angry and you think you understand that, but you can't understand that because you don't know anger firsthand. My dear, your eyebrows have never been furrowed. Your eyes have never been irritated. You never get angry, so you don't understand how anger works. I understand anger. I will explain it to you. He's the personification of Brahma's anger. He's the personification of anger. He's Rudra, the screamer, the shouter. He's the destroyer. He has it all under control, but he certainly understands that anger. So now he's actually fit to explain to somebody how anger works. So he says, yes, your father loves you more than any of his children. The youngest daughter, the most beautiful and qualified daughter. More than any of his children. Everyone knows that. But believe me, his anger at me currently overshadows his love for you. Anger will overshadow the love. He will not greet you with love or honor because you love someone he hates, me. Sati looked mournfully at the ground, wondering why Shiva would not apologize to her father. So he explained, beautiful, slim-waisted woman, is your father's anger justified? Please think about it carefully. This is important. He's making an important point. We shouldn't apologize for something which was not wrong. If you do make an apology, it better be sincere. Because if you apologize for something which was not wrong, then it makes the behavior wrong. Especially if you are a person who sets standards. Then if you do something and apologize for it, that means you are saying that that was wrong to do. So that would mean that what Shiva did, not standing up when Daksha came in, was wrong. But it wasn't wrong. And he's going to explain that now. He's saying, if your father's anger is justified, then I should certainly apologize. But is his anger justified? Please think about it carefully. He's angry because I did not rise from my seat to respect him. Is that justified? Well, definitely. Friends should welcome one another respectfully by standing to greet each other. But the wise do this out of respect for the Supreme Person who lies secretly within everyone's consciousness. They do not respect external circumstances like beauty, wealth, power, and so on, nor do they make external expressions of respect to fools who are enamored with such things. So he makes an important point. People should respect each other. Not because somebody is beautiful or ugly, not because somebody is strong or weak, not because somebody is older or younger, not because somebody is more or less experienced. People should respect each other because people are fundamentally respect-worthy, because people are fundamentally divine. People who are smart respect each other on that basis. Hence, they don't care. You don't have to be dressed properly to be bowed to. You don't have to be a certain age to be bowed to. Because of what you fundamentally are, you deserve respect. But the people who are obsessed with showing their experience and age and dominance, those people shouldn't be respected externally, because that's not proper behavior. And that shouldn't be pointed to as this is respect-worthy. Instead, you should internally respect them. Respect them in your mind, but don't show the world that you're respecting them. So this is a really significant point. He's angry because I did not rise from my seat to respect him. Definitely, friends should welcome one another respectfully by standing to greet each other, but the wise do this out of respect for the Supreme Person, who lies secretly within everyone's consciousness. They do not respect external circumstances like beauty, wealth, power, and so on, nor do they make external expressions of respect to fools who are enamored with such things. Since I did not make an external show of respect, your externally obsessed father thinks that I did not respect him at all. But I did. When your father entered the assembly, I greeted him respectfully by worshipping the transcendental, all-attractive son of Vasudeva, whom I could clearly and directly see in the pure core of your father's consciousness. Your father is expert in many ways, but not in spiritual vision. He could not see my expression of respect. All he could see was that I did not make an obvious external demonstration of respect. He hated me for spoiling his grand entrance and his glorious moment of vanity and pride. This is the petty reason he is so angry with me and so estranged from his beloved daughter. That sort of behavior cannot be certified or supported by my apology. You have no idea how blinding anger is, how it distorts our perceptions. If you go to his ceremony, he will not see his beloved daughter. He will see a hated supporter of his enemy. Please, he concluded, do not go there and subject yourself to such painful abuse. Sati mournfully looked off into the distance, towards the last traces of divine ships headed towards the grand ceremony. If you go, he added, your future will not be bright. You are worthy of the greatest respect. And when you experience so much insult from your own father, you will want to die on the spot. It was then that he realized the situation was hopeless. The destruction of his dear wife was unavoidable, whether she went to her father's ceremony or not. Already she seemed to be disintegrating, tearing herself into two. Half of her would walk away to see her beloved family, but the other half would walk towards her beloved husband, trusting his advice. Unable to remain still, her whole body began to quake and tremble. Then tears rushed out in a downpour, and for the first time in her life, anger rose up and leapt from her eyes like fire. She could hardly see at all through all the clouds arising from the heat of her anger and the rivers of her tears. Finally, she made up her mind With an angry glare at Bhavani let out a long, calming breath, and then departed in a hurry towards her father's home. Half of her was already destroyed. I'll show you this great picture. Any questions? That's the end of the chapter. Let me see if I can add this. Window capture. Oh, that is big. All right, here we go. This is a great picture. One of the illustrations in the book. I did actually work on this conceptually with the artist quite a bit. I was pretty particular about this one. Illustration by Kaveri, my friend. And this is Sati getting really angry for the first time. Good picture, right? And there's one other drawing you could see, illustration there. All right. Any questions? Thank you, Bardo. Whenever I see the 10,001, I think of the Squid Games. Yes, magnificent, said. How can we differentiate, Samurai asks, self-love and pride? Self-love could be pride. I mean, really, pride is ignorant self-love. So, what should you respect about another person? About another person, somebody else? Should you respect that they're better at a video game than you are? Should you respect that they're better at a sport than you are? Should you respect that they're better at Sanskrit than you are? Should you respect that they're older than you are? That's all circumstantial. And who really cares? Who really cares? Because all of those things are temporary. What you should really respect about another person is that they are a person, that they are a conscious being, that they are divine. That's what you should really love and respect about somebody else. So why would it be any different for yourself? It's exactly the same for yourself. What should you respect about yourself? What should you love about yourself? That you're really good at soccer? That you're the best on the block at Ayatori? You know, doing weird things, playing Squid Games? You should respect the fact that you are a person, that you are divine, that you are a conscious being. That's self-love. That is not pride, that is self-love. Ayush says, is she in Bhavani's state now? It is interesting that they call her Bhavani in the Bhagavatam right after she kind of gets ignited to become Shiva's partner more, because now she understands anger. So now she's called Bhavani. That is interesting. Tash says, sounds like the insults imply that Shaivites are kind of Ketu-like and the Brahmins are Rahu-like. I don't think so. Brahmins are not Rahu-like. Brahmins are Mercurial and Jupiterian. Or Venusian, but Brahmins are benefic. And benefics have the same flaw. They get into external rewards, obvious rewards. So, yeah, Shaivites do certainly sound Ketu-like, but actually they are also quite Saturnian, quite martial, quite solar. Any other questions or anything? Bhavani means, well, it's the feminine grammar of Bhava. Shiva is Bhava, the god of existence. Bhavani is the goddess of existence. But to be the goddess of existence means to be the god of destruction. And, because the nature of existence is constant manifestation and remanifestation. Bhava means something which comes into being, and something which comes into being goes out of being. So Bhava is the god of changing the manifestation, and that's Bhava. And Bhavani is female counterpart. Alrighty. Yes, Xena, and a lot of Rahu. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. I hope you enjoyed my Mars in Capricorn video. It's posted. I enjoyed making it. I think it's pretty important. I hope everybody will watch that one. Mars in Capricorn. It's on the channel right now. Interesting, Tash.